So Bitcoin has had an incredible year this year.
Yes.
It's up 50% year to date, 130% over the past 12 months. And in addition to that, we've seen remarkable adoption of Bitcoin from new market entrants through the spot ETF,
Yes.
which launched in January and has over roughly 60 billion in aggregate assets across issuers. We have presidential candidates speaking at the Bitcoin conference this year. Lightning Network has seen over 1,200% growth in the past 24 months. Things are going quite well. It's an exciting time. And yet Bitcoin doesn't exist in a silo. And so that's what we're here to talk about today, is how Bitcoin is related to other macro investment trends, especially those that large asset allocators are paying attention to. Those are the decade-long trends where there'll be a great demand for capital, and Bitcoin naturally fits there. And so I'm specifically thinking of generative AI, and investment in AI and LLM infrastructure, and the energy transition, and how there's a convergence with Bitcoin.
Yeah, I guess, first of all, I realize what a tough act we are following. So go, Michael. Yes, it's been very exciting. And if we were listening to Michael, what you just said really won't matter much, although we think it really will matter. And I'm just going to start off by talking about the convergence between and among technologies that are evolving today and creating massive growth opportunities. I'm just going to illustrate with one stock. We're known for one stock that is a massive convergence opportunity. Many people analyze Tesla as an auto company, and yet we believe at ARC that it is actually the convergence among robotics. So autonomous taxi networks, robots, are going to be a very big part of the equation. Energy storage, they will be electric, and artificial intelligence, creating explosive growth opportunities. So the reason for that is each one of these technologies is following an S-curve, and when you have them converging, they're going to start feeding one another and creating incredible growth opportunities. And I think what we're here to do today is to talk about convergence involving Bitcoin. And I would say one reason that we've seen the price appreciation recently is the recognition more and more. There's a lot of education taking place, especially 11 ETFs issued at the same time. You've got 11 asset managers out there educating as many people as possible. And what are we saying to them to make this understandable? We're saying that Bitcoin is three very big ideas in one. It's a technology, right? But if you think about it, it's leveraging off the internet. It's the layer of the internet that developers didn't put in place in the early 90s because they never dreamed that financial services or commerce would take place on the internet. So it's simply the next generation of the internet. It is a monetary system, the first global, decentralized, private, no government oversight, no throat to choke, digital, rules-based, that's extremely important, monetary system in history. So there's tech, there's economics, and then the third thing, and this we brought to light with the ETF issuance, is it is a new asset class, and every asset manager, retail or institutional, has to consider putting a new asset class in their clients' portfolios. Why? Because of the low correlation of returns. What that means, you slot some Bitcoin in, and your return per unit of risk goes up. And every institution knows that, and so they have a responsibility to understand what Bitcoin is and what kind of investment opportunity it will represent for their clients. So I think that ETF issuance has really helped cement this story and is beginning to generate a deeper understanding more broadly in the investment world.
It certainly has. And I think that position positions Bitcoin well to also be represented in other macro trends that asset allocators are attending to. You mentioned AI when you spoke about Tesla. And one of the things that we're hearing from asset allocators is that they're interested in investing in AI and LLM infrastructure. And you mentioned in what you just summarized that that Bitcoin, one of the things that Bitcoin technologies can do is fill a gap for payments on the web. Bitcoin can uniquely do that. But beyond that, what we expect to see in AI and the LLM space is an even higher demand for payment and a demand for micro payments at scale. And what's interesting about that is that that's an area where traditional financial systems aren't optimized for. And beyond that, in the crypto space, it's only Lightning, because of its architecture as a payment channel network, that can reach that sort of transaction volume, the TPS, transactions per second, that will be required in a web-based world or in a world where AI and LLMs are serving the needs of users and of enterprise. And so Bitcoin technologies have a role to play here. And for investors looking to invest in AI and LLM infrastructure, they have to think about what payments match the opportunity of the capabilities that those technologies introduce. And Lightning can do that. And so we're seeing Lightning mature as a payments technology at a moment where it's also applicable to a large macro trend.
Sure, and I'll follow up on AI. What's going on in AI is amazing. We have been very aggressive in our expectations, and yet we're seeing, and Mark Zuckerberg this week talked about open source models and how this might accelerate many of the trends that AI has already triggered. And so I think what we're going to see is a couple of things. One, and we've learned this from the Lightning Network and some of the developers working on it. In Africa, I don't know if you know Roast Beef, but he's one of them. We did a brainstorm. We do a Bitcoin brainstorm every month in conjunction with Bitcoin Park. And he was on one of the first of them. So look that up. It's every time I am with the developers or the miners or some part of the Bitcoin ecosystem, my confidence in what is about to happen here increases. Well, Roast Beef at one of the first two of those brainstorms, sitting in Africa, was saying, this is transforming lives in Africa. It is going to redefine the division of labor. We think we understand the gig economy. Think micro gig economy and think global labor force and piecemealing out these tasks. So he says this is transforming people's lives in Africa. And so I think the payments part of this is critical.
Yes.
And I also think the second part, so division of labor and paying for those micro giga jobs, is one example. And then there's the machine to machine. Basically, it's called agentic AI. I will basically direct an LLM to create a marketing program for me and my new company, including a website, a marketing program, articles, promotional materials, and so forth. And the agentic AI will do that from beginning to end when we finally get there. And we're getting there faster than I thought we were going to get there. So how does this happen? How do we pay all of the various entities involved? Lightning Network, Bitcoin, payments ecosystem.
Great. So let's drill down there for a second on the technologies that will underlie this payments opportunity. You mentioned two of Stillmark's portfolio companies in what you just said. So Roast Beef Lalu is CTO of Lightning Labs. Lightning Labs, of course, just announced this week the introduction of a new protocol, Taproot Assets, which brings stablecoins, digital dollars to Lightning Network to have them transact free in a dependable way and instantly in a peer-to-peer manner. You also talked about LLM-driven agents or LLM-supported agents and their future need to be able to transact both with one another, to purchase resources for themselves, like access to to another model or to a data pool, but also to engage with an audience or a person on the other end. And Lightning Network can facilitate those agents have a wallet. One of our portfolio companies, Vita, is doing exactly that. It's entrepreneurs from the telecom space that recognize the convergence of what's happening in AI, what's happening in Bitcoin, and the opportunity in the telecom sphere. But drilling down for a second on the technology and why it's suitable for an opportunity of this scale, let's talk about the unique architecture of Bitcoin's Lightning Network. So Bitcoin's Lightning Network is a payment channel network. And what that means is that it's a hub and spoke model. So it doesn't, and there's two special things about this hub and spoke model that differentiate it in terms of scalability from other crypto L2 payment solutions. First is that transactions that are happening on the Lightning Network don't need to be committed back to the main chain, the underlying Bitcoin protocol. And what that means is that they are not constrained by block space. Second, they don't require a global state of transactions across the Lightning Network. And that also means that they're able to achieve incredible transaction scale. Now, that's different from other L2 solutions in an important way, in that other L2 payment solutions like ZK rollups do require block space and a global state. And so they can't reach the same sort of transaction volume that Lightning Network can. Now, what was the trade-off? The trade-off, of course, is in the bootstrapping phase that a payment channel network has to go through. So in order for a payment channel network to reach sort of a critical mass, you need to have individuals, hobbyists, dedicated Bitcoiners, to invest their time in running and managing a node, to invest their capital in providing liquidity to the network. And so that's why across the crypto sphere, you see one Lightning Network, although there's dozens or more other L2 payment solutions, including ZK rollups. Now, of course, in addition to Lightning earning this sort of unconstrained scale by taking this hub and spoke approach, it also has created a competitive moat, one Lightning Network across the cryptosphere. And we've seen other payment channel networks like Raiden in the Ethereum space fail because they weren't able to reach that critical point of scale. Now, with this throughput, we have a partner that can be a reliable partner for AI and LLM needs, whether that be for individuals or businesses to pay for access to the models themselves, or whether it be for those models to be in service to businesses and to individual users. You can actually get to for example, pay per API call level of discrete monetization.
Yeah, I guess the only other thing I'll add, Elise, is that the L402 protocol is critical to this ecosystem because because it involves authentication, verification in this payments mechanism. Critically important given how much can go wrong.
Absolutely, and that's another protocol introduced by Lightning Labs.
Yes.
And so with L402, we're able to have a specific payment technology that addresses the per API call payments opportunity. And we have a partner for AI and LLM infrastructure and use cases that can help, I think, create depth and breadth in what is possible with AI.
Yeah, so I guess just listening to Elise, who's her business, her venture fund is 100% focused on the Bitcoin ecosystem. You can see the depth of knowledge, and I know a lot of people are just thinking, okay, what's the price of Bitcoin going to be? One of the reasons Bitcoin's price will continue to go up is because of the opportunities that layer 2 Lightning networks and the convergence with AI is going to create. It's going to be phenomenal.
I think so. And Bitcoin's convergence with macro trends and broader technology exploration doesn't just stop with AI and LLMs, of course.
Right.
Macro investors are also talking about and attending to, for example, the energy transition, of movement into renewables. And Bitcoin fits very well there. both to accelerate what's being built and to stabilize the grid. I know that ARC has spent time in the energy space as well.
Yes, the story there is when Elon Musk, Tesla, put Bitcoin on Tesla's balance, he faced a wall of resistance and criticism having to do with the environment. And so we, along with Block, held a half-day seminar featuring Elon and Jack Dorsey, Steve Lee, for those of you who know him. And we were trying to disabuse them of this notion, the critics, that this is environmentally damaging. I'm going to back up just a little bit and say, I think that we're beginning to hear more common sense generally when it comes to that topic. To grow, we need energy. Technology, progress takes energy. Now, maybe we can do it more efficiently, and we are, and over time, of course. But energy necessarily grows as the economy progresses. And if we're right, and the economy and the growth rate of the economy is going to accelerate because of the massive innovation that's taking place out there, we're going to need even more energy. So that's the first thing. But during the seminar, we were able to illustrate that Bitcoin mining in a utility ecosystem and other energy ecosystems is actually going to help us overbuild renewable energy, solar and wind. Why? Well, as you're putting in this renewable energy ecosystem, you're going to have utilities, going to have storage unit, and in sunny Florida, where I live now, the storage will fill up very quickly, and then it'll just be wasted unless it's put to some good use. Bitcoin mining is that. And what does it do for the utility ecosystem? Okay, mining Bitcoin means you get Bitcoin. And if you're really trying to build out your renewable infrastructure and accelerate it, Bitcoin actually will be an enabler of that. And then, of course, the second one, we saw this with Exxon. I was so surprised to see them putting Bitcoin mining machines into natural gas fields to take instead of flaring gas and even worse, venting it, just using it to mine that's Exxon. So pretty big buy-in here and pretty big proof points.
Absolutely. So Bitcoin can be a reliable energy off-taker and an anchor tenant for new generation. And that can be used, we believe, to facilitate more efficient investment in new energy production. And we've seen that done on a smaller scale in Africa.
Yes.
To go back to a region you mentioned where Bitcoin is flourishing.
Yes.
Stillmark invested in a company called Gridless that acts as an anchor tenant for new energy generation sites. And what we've seen there is that investors will have a more reliable way to predict their return on investment, and they can stabilize expected cash flows from their investment in new generation. That has the function of drive further development of energy supply. Now, Bitcoin can do the same in the US, and you referenced a need for smart regulation and for a public-private partnership, in a sense, between what's happening on the innovation side, on the technology side, and the way that it is governed or encouraged. How is ARC about that, I wonder?
In terms of government involvement in encouraging the ecosystem?
Sure. What can drive a healthy energy transition? What's necessary or what has been done?
Oh, I see. And we're still on energy. We're going to switch to government next as we progress. But what can be done in the energy? So it's interesting in being in Tennessee here and around Bitcoin Park, and the energy topic has come up quite a bit. I think accelerating nuclear is going to be a very important part, and I'm very happy to hear and learn of the advancements. Certainly TVA here in Tennessee is very important, but in order to in order to satisfy our energy needs, nuclear has got to be a bigger part of the equation. So I certainly think getting the government behind that, or should I say, getting the government out of it in terms of all of the regulations. What has strangled nuclear since the 70s is incredible regulation, and it has destroyed the learning curve that nuclear was on. If it had not been derailed by regulation, we would be at a much lower cost. It is the cleanest form of energy as well. So I think that is going to be one of the biggest, most important ways for the government to help us generate the energy supply that we need for the economic growth that we expect.
Yes, and to allow for Bitcoin mining participation in a healthy energy ecosystem.
Absolutely.
Of course. So Bitcoin is good at not just being a reliable off-taker in the presence of new energy generation, but also responding to the peaks and troughs of renewable energy. And we've heard a bit about that today from the stage already. But one of the things that's notable about Bitcoin mining as an energy off-taker is that it can be much more price responsive than other off-takers. And what that means is that Bitcoin mining doesn't contribute to new peaks. And when you have a peak demand on the grid, that creates reliability issues. And reliability is a primary concern of stakeholders in the energy space.
Sure.
So Bitcoin as a partner provides sort of some resiliency.
Absolutely. Data centers today generally need 100% uptime. And so if there is a part of that ecosystem that doesn't need that, actually, that energy at peak times, can step aside, and we heard a lot about that at this conference, then I'm sorry, I lost my thought.
Well, so what we're
flexibility.
What we're saying is that Bitcoin mining is unique as a partner to new energy generation and to the energy transition because of its flexibility.
Yes, absolutely.
Because it can be present in times of low prices when demand is low relative to energy supply, and it can back off and still be productive, but back off in times of peak prices where demand outstrips supply, and that's quite unique.
Yes, absolutely.
There's one other thing that Bitcoin can do here in the energy space, and that is that supply and demand have to match in real time. But what doesn't work in real time yet are payments.
That's
and
right.
so we're seeing payments for energy happen over days or weeks or longer, and that necessitates the existence of credit in the system.
Absolutely.
And Bitcoin payments, Lightning Network, because it can work in real time and settle in real time, can remove the need for credit in the system and free up working capital, in fact, to continue investing in new energy development. So there's a significant role for Bitcoin to play in a number of ways on this trend.
Absolutely. The taking out the counterparty risk associated with credit is going to streamline our economy incredibly, and it is the entire economy. It's not just the energy sector, of course. We are going to be taking out the middlemen, and most of you probably know this already. But as we start in this campaign election season, helping the average consumer understand what is in this for me, or what is this? This idea that there's a tax in the system just because of the risks associated with credit, the counterparty risks and other risks. And the tax, we know this from our credit cards, for example, is anywhere from 2 to 5%. And that's consistent across. That's a huge tax on the economy. Think about that as a nice tax cut awaiting us. So I think we're trying, as an educator in the community, we're trying to help people understand, sure, this is important in energy, but it's important for the entire global economy.
Yes. Lightning solves the credit problem, for sure.
Yes.
Perhaps we should switch quickly to regulation and what we would like to see or hope to see from regulators going forward to drive innovation in the space and keep the U.S. competitive from an innovation and technology perspective for Bitcoin?
Sure. I have been so impressed by really the evolution here and how quickly and up to speed our legislators are. And I think we've seen a few things that are extremely positive. And I'll just mention former President Trump accepting campaign donations in Bitcoin. That caught a lot of attention. We're again trying to educate everyone out here. But his statement that he would fight to preserve the right for self-custody, that's critical. And so I'm hearing yes. And while he does want all the mining to take the rest of the miners to come here to the United States, I think the ecosystem, the Bitcoin ecosystem would want that to remain very decentralized. That's an issue in there right now. But the understanding of this topic and having met some of our lawmakers here, I am very hopeful that something is going to happen. I know there's rumors of a strategic Bitcoin reserve. Rumors out there. Yeah, there are rumors out there. Think about that. And if they do it in the right way, meaning, this is not an instrument of monetary policy at all, but it simply goes on our balance sheet. Michael Saylor gave us some really good talking points there. This could be transformational.
Fantastic. From our perspective, of course, we're interested in making sure that innovation is safeguarded. Self-custody, of course, is foundational to Bitcoin. And so to protect that is key as well. And then finally, I'll say that thoughtfulness and a research-based approach to regulation in this field is going to be important, and a focus on how traditional definitions apply to the Bitcoin space. For example, money transmitters. What does that mean in a Bitcoin or Lightning world? And making sure that as if you're running a node, for example, that doesn't have control over user funds, right, that you don't get mislabeled as a money transmitter. And that thoughtful regulation applied to the space can maintain a leadership for Bitcoin in the U.S., both from an innovation perspective and from an infrastructure perspective as well.
Yeah, well, I'm really excited. I'm really excited for tomorrow. We're going to have a very interesting speaker on that topic, President Trump. I think, and I'm not going to make the introduction, but I think you're going to hear from Senator Lummis from Wyoming, and just listen carefully to what she is saying. Again, you'll see the depth of knowledge and understanding and the passion and why I have met her a few times. Why is there this passion? It's so American. It's freedom, right? It's freedom. So, and what's interesting about that, one of our analysts, David Puel, he's a very well-known on-chain Bitcoin analytics expert, has developed some of the metrics out there. He said recently that he thinks that this is the biggest revolution since the Bill of Rights. So and he's from Mexico. He said this is so American, and I think that is what is going to carry us all the way in terms of the political landscape out there.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you,
It's a pleasure
Lise.
to have this discussion with you.
Thank you. Thank you.